Question 1A. Describe the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. We read Luke chapter 19, verse 28 to 40. Can someone read? And when he had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. When he drew near to Bethphage and Bethany, at the mount that he called Olivet, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying, Go into the village opposite, where on entering you will find a colt tied, on which no one has ever yet sat. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, Why are you untying it? You shall say this, The Lord has need of it. So those who were sent went away and found it as he had told them. And as they were untying the colt, its owner said to them, Why are you untying the colt? And they said, The Lord has need of it. And they brought it to Jesus. And throwing their garments on the colt, they sent Jesus upon it. And as he rode along, they spread their garments on the road. As he was now drawing near at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory is the highest. And some of the Pharisees in the multitude said to him, Teacher, rebuke your disciples. He answered, I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. For you to get all the points, you needed to start with Jerusalem. In your first point, you had to say Jesus entered where? Jerusalem. And then you had to talk about he had passed through Bethphage and Bethany. Or you just, if you mention Jerusalem, I wanted you to say he passed through. You don't have to name all the 3. Bethphage, Bethany, and Mount of Olives. Even if you say Mount of Olives, I give you that point. And then you have, very important, you have to mention the 2 disciples that is sent to bring a young colt. Look at what you wrote, the answers. Where's your paper? Yes, you are supposed to mention a colt. People are saying me, a young donkey. Donkey. What does the Bible say? Colt. You're supposed to mention a colt. Now I was giving you as a point. Someone told me, I don't know, a young of a goat that had never been ridden. And then he gave them instructions to go and tell the owner, if the owner asked, they should say that the master needs it. So they went and found as they had been told. And then they brought the colt and Jesus sat on it. When he sat on it, they spread their garments on the road. People were even saying they spread their clothes. And they sang, shouting that blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. But you have, very important, so that you can get the full 7 marks, you have to say, some of the Pharisees ordered Jesus to tell the disciples. They told Jesus, tell your disciples to do what? To keep quiet. And Jesus, what did Jesus say? He said that if they keep quiet, the stones would shout. If you mention the stone was the last point. The stones would shout. Question 1B. Give reasons why Jesus cleansed the temple. Why Jesus was cleansing the temple is because it had been made a den of robbers. That is what it is said in the Bible. It had been made a den of robbers. A den of robbers. It had been made a den of robbers. Number 2, because the poor were being exploited by the merchants. Even if you say the poor were being exploited by the robbers, by the sellers I was giving you. So the poor were being exploited by the sellers. I need all your books written, all the answers. Continue not writing. Just sit down because you were not in. Just sit down. All the questions should be in your exercise book with the answers, whether you are in or not. So I said the poor were being exploited by the merchants. That is why he cleansed the temple. Because the temple was not serving its purpose. Because the temple was no longer serving its purpose. That is, it was not being, it's the same point as it was not being used as a house of prayer. The other 2 points I forgot, I'll bring before the end of the day. No, sorry, I have them here. Another point is that because the temple had been defiled, it had been defiled. Question 1C. How can Christians show honor and respect places of worship today? Here you're supposed to show how you show honor to where you worship. Where do you worship? You worship in a church. How do you honor the church? So in your points, you should mention the church. Number 1 is giving church offering and tithe. You are showing honor to the church if you are giving offering and tithe, because the offering is the one that is being used to take care of that area of worship. It is used to build, to do renovations, to clean. So you show honor by giving offering and tithe. Number 2, you by contributing to the establishment of the church. You contribute. Establishment, you don't have to use the same word. You can just say you contribute in building of the church. You also keep the church clean. When you talk about keeping the church clean, or you plant flowers, or you clean around the church, that's the same point, because you are using them like different points. That's just the same point. You also show respect to this place of worship by respecting church leaders, because they are within the church. By respect church leaders. And lastly, to attending worship sessions. Attending worship sessions. Question 2A. Narrate the parable of the tenants. Luke chapter 20 verse 9 to 18. Most of you were talking about the gold coins. And it had nothing to do with the gold coins. You had to start with planting of the vineyard. A man who planted the vineyard, and then he went to another country for a long time. So when the harvest came, he sent the servants. So someone to read Luke chapter 20 verse 9 to 18.
And he began to tell the people these parables. A man planted a vineyard and stretched it out to tenants, and went into another country for a long while. When the time came, he sent a servant to the tenants that they should give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenants beat him and sent him away empty-handed. And he sent another servant him also. They beat and treated shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. And he sent yet a third. This one they wanted and cast out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Maybe they will respect him." But when the tenants saw him, they said to themselves, "This is the, the harlot has killed him. Let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours." And they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy those tenants and give the vineyard to others. When they heard this, they said, "God forbid." But he looked at them and said, "What then is this that is written? The very stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces, but when it falls on anyone, it will crush him."
Thank you very much. So when you talk about the parable of the tenants, even from the word tenant, I thought when you hear about the tenant, tenant is someone who has been given what? Something to use. Yes, there is a owner. Now I don't know why most of you are talking about the gold coins. The parable of the tenant, you have to start with, there was a man who planted a vineyard and he lent it out to the tenants. And then he went to a far country for a long time. So during the time of harvest is when he sent his servant. Number one, you have to note the first time he sent his servant to the tenant so that they may give him some of the fruits. Because that time there was no money, if you harvest, you have to send some of the what? Fruits. Because you've been rented out. So instead, when he sent them, instead of them giving him fruits, they sent him empty-handed. So he sent another servant. The second one now, they bet him. And they treated him shamefully. And they also sent him empty-handed. So the third one, you have to know, the third one also wounded and cast out. So now the owner of the vineyard sent his own son, thinking that the tenants are going now to respect the owner's son. But what did they do? They beat him and killed him because they knew that he's the one who's going to inherit that vineyard. Then Jesus asked the question. You have to say, Jesus posed the question to them. What do you think the owner will do to them when he comes? What do you think he'll do to them? So he will come and destroy the tenants and give the vineyard to others. So you have to know so that you can get full 6 marks. You say the stone that the builders rejected has become the what? The cornerstone. Question 2b. Give 5 signs of end of times. Luke chapter 21 verse 5 to 38. I don't know who told you during the end of time people are going to be written the word 666 on the face. I don't know who lied to you that. Because people are writing things which are very funny. Can we read Luke chapter 21 verse 5 to 38? Someone to read all of it.
And the son spoke of the temple, how it would have done with noble stones and offerings. He said, "As for these things which you see, the days will come when they shall not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." And they asked him, "Teacher, when will this be, and what will be the sign when this is about to take place?" And he said, "Take heed that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and the time is at hand. Do not go after them. And when you hear of wars and tumults, do not be terrified, for this must first take place, but the end will not be at once." Then he said to them, "Nation will be raised against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes and in various places famines and restlessness, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you upon to the synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors for my name's sake. This will be a time for you to bear testimony. Settle in there in your minds not to be mediated beforehand or outward, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom which none of your adversaries will be able to withstand or conduct. You will be delivered up even by parents and brothers and kinsmen and friends, and some of you they will put to death. You will be hated by all of my name's sake, but not a hair of your head will perish. But you endure, you will gain your lives. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that it is desolation has come near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to mountains, and let those who are inside the city depart, and let not those who are out of in the country enter it. For these days of arrogance to fulfill all that is written. Alas, for those who are with child and for those who live back in other days, for great distress shall be upon the earth and wrath upon these people. They will fall by the edge of the sword and be led captive among all nations, and Jerusalem will be trodden by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. And there will be signs in sun and moon and stars, and upon the earth distress of nations and publicity at the roaring of the sea and the waves. Men fainting with fear and with foreboding of what is coming on the world. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, look up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near.
Thank you. So the sign of the end of time, number one, the destruction of the temple and the city. There will be destruction of the temple and the city. Number two, there will be war between nations. War between nations, or you can just say war between nations will rise. There will be natural calamities. You can say famine, earthquakes, natural calamities. For example, you give examples, there will be famine, earthquakes. Strange and celestial beings will come from heaven. Strange and celestial beings will come from heaven. People would come claiming to be Jesus. People would come claiming to be Jesus. Nations will be in despair. Disciples would be hated on Jesus' account. Disciples would be hated. Also, you can say disciples would be arrested, or you can say they would be persecuted. And men will faint from fear.